I'm Mercury sports editor Austin Hertzog,
I'm Mercury football writer Darryl Grumling.
and this is a special edition of Off the Presses, Football Edition.
Affordable elegance for springtime awaits you. Don't forget your indoor landscaping at Elastic Furniture and Discount Floor Coverings. Open 7 days a week at High and Charlotte Streets in downtown Pottstown. They cover every room in your house.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of Off the Presses. We're going to be previewing the high school football season. I'm Mercury sports editor Austin Hertzog alongside football beat writer Darryl Grumling. Darryl went out to every camp ahead of the season, and each day he wrote a story in his starting 11. We're going to do a take on that, and we're going to do starting 11 questions to preview the high school football season. Darryl, first off, who's the team to beat?
Not really going to go out on a limb here, Austin. The team to beat, in my opinion, is going to be Pottsgrove. They're the two-time defending league champion, and the Falcons have won 23 straight Pac-10 games, which is an all-time league record. They broke their own record in their league finale last year. They also feature, in my opinion, the two best players in the area in senior offensive defensive lineman Patrick Finn, who's going to be a handful on both sides of the ball, and senior cornerback and wide receiver Mike Fowler, who is just a multi-skilled player in three different offense, defense, and special teams as well. So I think Coach Rick Pennypacker will have him ready this year to defend.
So then the question is, who has the chance to snap the streak?
That list, Austin, in my opinion, is very short.
Okay.
I think the only team with a legitimate chance at this point, from what I've seen, is Springford. The Rams, since Chad Brubaker took over 4 years ago, have compiled a 41-11 overall record, which is very impressive, and they've won 27 of their last 30 Pac-10 games. And they're also the last team to beat Pottsgrove, 49-35, back in the 2011 season. So they had to rebuild their whole defense, but they have numbers. I mean, they have the biggest depth in the league.
So next up, I know the league was hit by a lot of turnover. A lot of star players graduated, namely Perkiomen Valley, two-time All-Area Player of the Year, Rasan Stewart. So who was the team that was hardest hit by the graduation in the offseason?
Take your pick, Austin. There are several teams, probably half the area teams that lost. One of the things I wrote about in the Mercury football preview was the turnover in the league. Boyertown lost basically its entire offensive and defensive front, plus it's all most of its best skill guys, so they're really going to have to be rebuilding. Like you said, Perkiomen Valley, they got to replace, I believe it's 9 defensive starters, and a lot of skill guys. Besides Rasan, there was Clay Domine, Dakota Klanigan, 2 great wide receivers, plus Mark Bonomo, 1,000-yard rusher. So a lot of turnover there. Springford, they have the numbers, but they're replacing their entire defense. Pottsgrove, they're Pottsgrove, but they're replacing 9 defensive starters. So, that's just a little bit of
Tip
a
of the
turnover.
iceberg.
Yeah.
So next up, there's plenty of guys that are ready to take those spots, though, all those skill position spots, as well as become major factors in the names of this year. So who are some of those players to watch?
All right, we talked about Patrick Finn and Mike Fowler from Pottsgrove, so they're obviously guys that you need to take a look at. Methacton returns a couple of really key players in quarterback Connor Derrickson, who was inserted as a junior last year, early in the year, and they went 7-2 after he was inserted in the starting lineup. He's a dual threat rusher, passer, and they also the Warriors have Akeem Wolcott, who's a force on both sides of the ball. He's going to be moved from cornerback to safety in the secondary, and then they're going to get him a lot of touches on offense. He's a slot back type, so he's probably going to be their leading rusher type too, I would imagine. Player to look out for, one of the teams that didn't do so great last year was Phoenixville. They had a lot of injuries and were 4-9, but junior Matt Palubinski, was talking to their first-year coach, Evan Breisblatt. He's going to use him in a lot of different ways on offense. he's like a wide receiver, 6'3", 200-pound guy, but I mean, they could line him up all over the place, get him a lot of rushes too. He's going to be like a return guy in special teams, and obviously he plays defense too, and he's a safety. So he's another guy to take a look at for as far as top players around the league.
You sort of touched on it there, that you talked about a first-year coach and Evan Breisblatt at Phoenixville. They're not the only team with a first-year coach. There's in fact a few, aren't there?
Yeah, not only is there a lot of turnover in the players, the coaching staffs, there's no less than 5 new area coaches this year. Evan Breisblatt at Phoenixville is one of them. George Parkinson took over at Boyertown. George has some previous Pac-10 experience. He was the head coach at St. Pius. Rory Graver takes over at Pope John Paul II. Tom Hantz, the longtime Upper Perkiomen highly successful wrestling coach, he was an assistant with the football program. He takes over there for Steve Moyer. And at Hill School, Dave Rakoven takes over. He was at Central Bucks South the last 4 years, 26 and 18 mark. And that's it for the new coaches.
Yeah. I know in some of your travels out to the camps, you found that there were some new trends maybe that are going to be coming our way in 2014. Care to share what one of those new trends would be?
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed the last couple weeks is the proliferation of no-huddle offenses seems to be in the rise. Last year we had Perkiomen Valley running it the last few years actually under Scott Reed. Boyertown ran a hurry-up no-huddle too. I'm not sure they're going to be doing that again this year with the new coach, but there's going to be several other teams that go to a no-huddle, most notably Spring Ford. Chad Brubaker told me, their head coach, that they're going to be doing that, and they're going to be a very creative offense, I believe. Coach Breisblatt at Phoenixville, he said they're going to go to a no-huddle too, and Rory Graver at Pope John Paul and they were going to be doing it too, as well as the Hill School under Coach Dave Rakoven. So it could be some furious offenses, fast and furious this fall.
Yeah, it could be some games to watch with some fast-paced offense. That'll bring some excitement. You also, in your travels, I believe, discovered that some teams were faced with some depth issues this year.
Yeah, it's kind of an alarming trend for some of the coaches, but the numbers are down this year. Even in a place like Springford, which had like a veritable army of kids compared to a lot of the other teams. Chad Brubaker told me they were down to 70 guys, which is nice in the Pac-10, but they're usually up in the 90s. But some teams that were really on the bubble in depth, so to speak. Methacton coach Paul Lepre told me they were in the mid to low 40s, and that's not counting injuries and stuff. So he was concerned about, they open with Bayard Rust, and playing, he doesn't really have a good second team he can go to, or subs that can come in. These early season games with the weather and everything could make it. And Phoenixville only has 31 kids total, so they're going to have a lot of guys on both sides of the ball. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of that around the league this year.
Yeah.
Opportunity awaits you at our expanding personal care retirement community. Full-time and part-time openings for all shifts. Join our growing team providing quality care in our brand new facility. Apply today at Keystone Villa at Douglasville. Personal care. Looking for a flexible job? Need to make your own schedule? Chestnut Knoll at Home is seeking reliable, mature individuals for at-home caregiver positions. At-home caregivers are responsible for providing assistance to individuals in their homes.
Now, we've touched on a lot of the top teams in the league, but there were some teams that took some lumps last year, but some of them may be on the rise. Who's a team that you like to be on the rise this year?
Well, there could be a couple. A lot remains to be seen. I got to think that Pottstown, they struggled last year in Coach Don Greenstead's first year. They had some problems at the end of the year personnel-wise. Off the field issues and numbers were down. They only had one win. I got to think that with a quarterback like Gary Wise, running back like Brandon Tinson, they have some good skill guys that can do some damage. So if their line play gets short up, I think they could take that step up. I've been waiting for Owen J now a couple years, Owen J. Roberts, to take that next step. I mean, the Ryan Brumfield years, they were at the top of the pack. They've struggled the last 3 years. I think, they're going to have a good offensive line. They had some injury issues last year. They could be a surprise. So I would say, those would be my two teams.
Yeah.
Maybe Phoenixville, too, from the 4-9 record. Like I said, if they can overcome that depth issue.
Yeah, that'll be something to watch. Now, who do you have as when all the dust settles, who do you believe is going to be the top offense, and who do you believe is going to be the top defense?
Top offense, I'm going to lean towards Springford. I think Chad Brubaker is very creative, and he's got some coaches there. His offensive coaches, very creative guys. They could be doing a lot of trickeration, so to speak. They have a guy named Stone Scarcelli who's played quarterback a little bit last year as a freshman. He's going to be in packages out there with Brandon Laycraft, their returning quarterback, and that Trey Jarman, who is a good transfer from. He started at Springford, went to Westchester East, now he's back at Springford. He's going to be their main backfield guy at this point. So they can put up some good offensive numbers, even though they lost a guy like Jared Jones, who was last year's area leading rusher.
And defense?
Got to go with the Grove, Pottsgrove, Rick Pennypacker. I mean, they lost 9 guys, but he seems to have a knack for preaching defense first. Mike Fowler, best cover guy in the league, and Finn, best lineman in the league. So that's 2 nice building blocks there.
Yeah. We're quickly approaching week 1, opening night, Friday night. What are some of the intriguing matchups that you see for the opening night and opening weekend?
Council Rock North is at Perkiomen Valley in week 1, Friday night. The intriguing matchup there is Council Rock North has a quarterback named Brandon McElwain, who is a Division I prospect. He's a dual threat runner, passer, division. He's getting looked at by like Penn State schools like that. So he's a big-time junior prospect. You also have Springford making the trip to State College, which is an interesting opener. State College will have a new coach. They're coming off a 5-6 year, but it's not going to be an easy game up there. Meth Acton plays Bayard Ruston. They played them tough last year. Ruston, if you remember, went 10-0 before losing to Perkiomen Valley in the first round of districts. Pottsgrove's going to host Ben Franklin out of Philadelphia, which won 9 games last year. And you still got the Saturday. You have the Route 29 series. Always a good rivalry between Great Valley and Phoenixville.
Yeah. And to wrap things up, Darryl, who you got? Who's our Pac-10 champion?
Not going to go out on a limb here, but until somebody beats them, Austin's got to be Pottsgrove.
And I have to echo those sentiments too. Until somebody proves it, got to be the Grove. Thanks a lot for Darryl Grumling and myself, Austin Hertzog. Thanks for watching the Off the Presses Special Edition. Stay tuned next week. Sam Stewart and myself will be previewing the rest of the high school fall sports season in another special edition of Off the Presses. Thank you.
Don't wait any longer. Start saving money on your heating bill when you heat your entire home, water, and more with the safe, comfortable heat of a central boiler outdoor furnace. Call Keeler Service Center at 215-723-8445 or visit KeelerServices.com. McConnell's Refrigeration has a huge inventory of refurbished refrigerators and restaurant equipment. Local delivery is $25. We service all makes and models. Call Rob at 610-469-6107.
That does it for us this week. For myself and the rest of the Off the Presses team, have a great week. For the most up-to-date news, weather, sports, and entertainment, visit our website, Pottsmart.com. Follow us on Twitter. Our handle is MercuryX, and you can find us on Facebook. We'll be here every Thursday with a recap of the top stories and what you can expect coming up next. Off the Presses.